We have much more on the coverage of the war in Ukraine. That's just ahead, but there's more breaking news we're following as well, including new details right now about what former President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, told the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th insurrection. Our congressional correspondent Ryan Nobles is working the story for us. Ryan, let's start with what's happening today. Kushner meeting remotely with the committee. You have some new information.
Yeah, first of all, Wolf, this was a lengthy deposition between the committee and Jared Kushner. It started this morning. It went well into the afternoon, and we're told by at least one member of the January 6th Select Committee, Congresswoman Elaine Luria of Virginia, that in her mind, Kushner was cooperating. She pointed out that he came in voluntarily and that he did offer up information that the committee was looking for. She didn't get into real specifics, but this is an encouraging sign for the committee. Kushner may be the person closest to the former President Donald Trump that has sat for a deposition with this committee. He is, of course, his son-in-law, also one of the highest-ranking advisors in the Trump White House. Now, Kushner wasn't in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. He was traveling abroad at the time. However, he was involved in the activities after the election in November, was still serving in that capacity in the Trump White House. And of course, we know, Wolf, that the committee is very interested in that period of time between the election and January 6th, where the former president ramped. Committee is very interested in that period of time between the election and January 6th, where the former president ramped up that rhetoric, his false claims about an election being stolen, and they were likely to ask Kushner questions in that vein. Wolf?
Let's turn to the Justice Department, Ryan, while I have you. There are some signs tonight that the Department of Justice is broadening its investigation related to January 6th. What's the latest?
Yeah, that's right, Wolf. And this is significant because up until this point, all the work that we've seen from the Justice Department has really been centrally focused on those individuals that actually broke into the Capitol and caused all that violence on January 6th. What we are now seeing by a group of subpoenas that have gone out is that they are widening that scope to those who are involved in organizing the rallies and also raising money for those rallies that would allow for people to come to Washington and for those rallies to be staged. Now, at this point, it appears that this is more of a fact-finding mission, that they're not necessarily targets of an investigation or could potentially be targeted for indictment. But it shows that, as Merrick Garland had promised, that he's going to leave no stone unturned and take this all the way to the top if necessary. And this could be just the beginning of what will be a very long-term investigation.
Good point. Ryan Nobles on Capitol Hill, thank you very much. Let's dig deeper right now. Joining us, CNN senior legal analyst Elie Honig. Elie, as you heard, we're hearing that Kushner volunteered information. You wouldn't necessarily expect someone in Trump's inner circle to be especially forthcoming, would you?
Well, Jared Kushner is in a really interesting and I think unique scenario. First of all, he's always tried to keep himself separate from January 6th. He was never a big proponent of the big lie of election fraud. He wasn't in the country in the lead up to January 6th. On the other hand, he is the ultimate inner circle advisor. He's the highest ranking White House advisor to testify thus far. And so if I was examining Jared Kushner, I would try to use him purely as a witness. What were other key players doing? I'd try to use that access. What did Mark Meadows do? What did Dan Scavino do? Perhaps even what did Ivanka Trump do? Because he has that unique insight and access. That's where I'd be interested in questioning him.
Very interesting. Our senior legal analyst, Elie Honig, thank you very, very much. Up next, Chris Rock speaks out for the first time about Will Smith's violent Oscars outburst as new details are emerging about what happened right afterward. There's some breaking news on the slap that will go down in Oscars history. The executive producer of the Oscar telecast spoke out about the confrontation between Will Smith and Chris Rock in a new interview just a little while ago.
You know, this is battery was the word they used in that moment. They said, we will go get him. We are prepared. We're prepared to get him right now. You can press charges. We can arrest him. They were laying out the options. And as they were talking, he was being very dismissive of those options. He was like, no, I'm fine. He was like, no. And even to the point where I said, Rock, let him finish. The LAPD officers finished laying out what his options were. And And they said, would you like us to take any action? And he said no.
Chris Rock also is breaking his silence on Will Smith's attack as we learn new details about what happened immediately afterwards. CNN's Brian Todd is working the story for us. He's getting more information as well. Brian, what's the latest?
Wolf, tonight we have new reporting on the disputed accounts of whether Will Smith was actually asked to leave after the slapping incident or not. And as Wolf mentioned, Chris Rock has spoken out publicly for the first time and dropped hints that there will be more coming from him. Chris Rock had tears in his eyes as the crowd at Boston's Wilbur Theater gave him back-to-back standing ovations. Then he made his first public comments since being slapped at the Oscars by Will Smith.
How was your weekend? I'm not like a bunch about what happened, so if you came to hear that, I had like a whole show I wrote before this weekend.
CNN has obtained audio of the first of two stand-up shows Rock did last night in Boston.
And I'm still kind of processing what happened. So at some point I'll tell them. And it'll be serious, it'll be funny.
As some in the crowd shouted F. Will Smith, Rock seemed eager to move on.
I'm gonna tell some jokes.
In his second show, Rock reiterated that he plans to talk about this incident in more detail at some point.
That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow. Wow.
Seemingly referencing whether he's spoken to Smith since the incident, Rock told the audience in the second show, quote, "I haven't talked to anyone, despite what you heard." An uncensored feed from a Japanese outlet the night of the Oscars shows how Rock and Smith reacted immediately after the slap.
Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
ウィル・スミスにやられました。
Keep my wife's name out your f***ing mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's
G.I. ジェーンのジョークだったんです。
mouth.
There have been multiple published reports disputing the Academy's claim that Will Smith was asked to leave the Oscars ceremony after the slap but refused.